Hi art friends, it's Lonnie here with Art Ripples, and we're going to get right into drawing a clownfish for our underwater seascape today. So I'm going to start with white, titanium white, and we are just going to create a base for our fish. I'm using titanium white so it'll cover the blue in the ocean. So the first thing we're going to do is just kind of create a football shape. Just a football shape for our fish. Just kind of outlining it here. One of the tricks is to use chalk to draw out your fish first. And that's what, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I have an outline there drawn with chalk. That way you can chalk out your fish. I'm showing you the outline now. We're just doing like a football shape. But if you do it in chalk first, you can do it over and over and over again, and the chalk will come right off your painting as long as the background is dry. You can use a dry brush and take the chalk off and redo it until you feel comfortable where it's at. So you can pause the video here and start working on your fish. So this is what I'm going off of, one of my clownfish from before. And don't worry if it's not exactly the same. None of mine come out the same ever. So I just have like a football shape going on right here for what the clownfish is going to look like. And then its tail, so I'm going to fill them in first, fill in this part. And I'm using a very small angled brush just so that I can create my outline and fill it in. Use any brush you have. Remember, this is about using what you have right now at hand. If you don't have this brush, that's okay. So I'm going to give him a tail. So his tail kind of just comes out from the back, ever so like this. Just kind of straight out the back, and maybe the end of his tail is kind of curvy instead of like straight. There you go. So this is like the basics of our fish. I'm gonna give him a fin or two up here, just like a little triangular shape there, and maybe another fin right here, a little more towards the front. There's his other little fin. And then maybe in here he's going to have his down fin, or this side. That's like the other side of the fish, and this is the side you're seeing. So I'm going to kind of give him a fin going on right here. All of this is white just because I'm trying to cover up some of that blue, right? So the oranges and the yellows will show up. So this is just the base of our fish. Make a little fat right here. There we go. That's just the basics of my fish. Little football shaped fish. It's going to take a little bit for it to dry, but acrylic dries really quickly, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, so after you've got the base down for the white, I had chalked some on the side. I don't know if you see it. This is a very dry brush, and look how easy the chalk line comes off. See that? That's why I said pause the video, draw your fish out with chalk as much as you want to until you get it right where you want it. All right, so now I'm gonna kind of give him some shapes to this because it just kind of looks like a white blob, right? So we're going to kind of shape it out a little bit. And I have some orange colors. I have some different paints. Use what you have. So I'm not really being specific on what colors or anything. I'm using something in the using orange, yellow, and red make orange. So I've combined some red and some yellow to make some orange. I have a different orange here called Orange Spice. And then I have my yellow, of course. So I'm gonna work with all those colors. I'm gonna start to make out the shapes that I kind of want. So I'm using red and yellow. I made an orange, yellow ochre. I think I used yellow ochre and cadmium red light. And so I'm just going to kind of come in here and give him where I want, you know, shapes to be. This is probably up here going to be the front, and then right in here, this is a clownfish. I don't know much about sea life, but it's fun to learn while you're doing it. So clownfish live in something called an anemone. I learned that from Finding Nemo. I thought that was cute. So I'm going to come in here and draw another line. I'm just using the orange to draw the lines of kind of where I want my fish to colors to go. And then I'm going to draw right here another line for the back, his back right there. And then inside his fin, I'm going to draw another line, kind of coming in almost like a triangle, but not quite like a triangle. There we go. All right, so I think this is where I'm going to have some of my colors go. We'll see where it goes from there. I think maybe his fin will be, and this one, his fin is orange, right? So let's give him an orange fin. Let's come in here and give him an orange fin. And I'm going to kind of come from in here, and I'm going to come down with some curvy lines. And then maybe his fin will come up. And if you notice my brush, I'm turning it however I want to get thin lines. I'm just kind of turning it and playing with it, because this is all I'm doing is kind of drawing out my fish. I think that's nice. So now I'm going to fill in some of these colors. His face, I'm going to fill him in with this orange. Again, I'm using a very small, this is an 8x10 canvas board, so I'm using a very small, this is my hand, here it is, very small piece brush, angled brush. I like the angled brush because I can use it on its point to get very thin lines. I can use it on its side in bigger spaces, bigger brush. I can use the bigger space and use it fully like that. I like all the different things I can do with an angled brush. Okay, so that's my first fill in there. Here's my second. I'm going to come in here and fill in its fin. Now you at home can pause this video and stop it. Make sure that your white is completely dry before moving on to this this part right here. If it's not completely dry, then you know, pause the video, wait for it to dry. So I'm using the orange to fill it in, and if you notice my brush strokes, I'm gonna go horizontal with the brush strokes, right? I'm not kind of going up and down to fill it here. I'm going horizontal because I think that's kind of how I want your eye to go when you're looking at this fish. It's a little bit tougher for me. I'm right-handed, and I'm filming on the right side of my canvas. Normally I would be standing on this side of my canvas to paint. But you guys are in my tiny studio in my RV, and until I figure out exactly what the best way is to film with the best lighting and everything, I'm just kind of improvising and going with it. But I'm excited that I will just keep getting better and better. You're kind of on this journey with me, which is pretty awesome. And I thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are on my Patreon site and supporting me on this venture, I am so appreciative of it. If you are not currently and have no idea what I'm talking about, I have a patreon.com/Lonnie Vargas site where you can see this video and many other videos that I'm creating for a very small membership fee. I'm just excited to be able to paint and to be able to teach painting during this pandemic right now. So do you see our clownfish is getting some color? This is pretty awesome. There we go. Our clownfish has some color. All right. So with that being said, I'm also going to get some chocolate brown. Like I said, you have any kind of brown that you have is fine. Do not stress about using the exact same colors I have. I have some yellow medium hue, some Grumbacher yellow. So now that he has the basics of where, now I'm going to kind of fill in some more details. So I'm going to take some of the dark chocolate brown, dark chocolate brown, and I'm going to kind of start outlining some of the areas that I think should be darker. Now my orange is still wet, so it kind of blends in a little bit, and that's okay. Again, if you want to wait for it to completely dry, you are welcome to stop this video and let it completely dry before you move on. So I'm kind of doing some of the top of the fin, the top of the fins here, and this side of the fin over here. I'm still using my angled brush. If you are not comfortable with this, another brush that you could use that works really well is a round brush. That works really well in little areas like this too. Let me show you. This is a little round brush. If you take your round brush, wet it with water, and then roll it on your napkin, it gives you a really nice sharp point. And you can use that as well. So I have the orange spice color, which is just slightly different from the yellow orange that it's not really yellow orange. This orange right here was Grumbacher cadmium red light and yellow ochre. That's this. Now I'm going to put in orange spice, which is a little bit darker, and that's just coming in here and giving it more dimensions to the color. So I'm putting it in here in the fin just kind of to differentiate the back fin here. Maybe in this one too. And darken this up right in here. Making sure I'm keeping my brush strokes horizontal, using it to my advantage. I'm going to come back with what I'm comfortable with, which is my angled brush. So I'm very comfortable with my angle brush. And you can definitely see the brush strokes in here, and I am okay with that, with seeing the brush strokes. I kind of like the way it makes it look like my fish is moving in the water. So I'm going to add like a little tail right here to him, which means that I did not do that in white. And if you can see, I can see the water through it. So I'm going to come right back in and just place my white right there and let it dry. And it'll dry. I'm going to come in here and just give it a little bit more. And this is basically your fish. Now what you're doing is just creating highlights and lowlights, and just using the colors that we've already have, which is the 2 oranges and the brown, right, to just give it that shadows and highlights effect. Excuse me. And you just keep playing with it. Now acrylic has to dry. If not, I don't know if you can see that, I'm actually pulling my acrylic back off because I'm not waiting for it to dry in between. So I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna come over here, and this, I want to show you these little mistakes, if you want to call them, right? Because what you want to do is acrylic dries so quickly. You can just fix that afterwards. Don't get frustrated with it. Don't get upset with it, right? You just wait until it dries. Work on a different area. Just come and work on something else while that one is drying. Also, come back into your white, into the parts that you did do white already, and you know, put some more white on there if you want to make it, you can still see my blue a little bit through the white. So I'm just coming back in here and refilling it in, putting in more white. And if you notice, I'm not really dipping my brush a lot in the water. I'm really just wiping it on a napkin. And I keep going back from one side to the other because I want my paint to dry right in between. So that's why I work on an area, leave it alone, do something else, another part of my fish. Just relax while you're doing it. Don't try to make it perfect. Don't try to make perfect lines. Not try to make perfect spaces. Because that's where you start to get frustrated and stressed and that kind of stuff. And really, really, you don't want that. You don't want to stress. You don't want to, you want this to be an enjoyable thing. Relax. Let the brush do a lot of the work. Just, you know, put paint down, spread it around. Enjoy the process that you're creating. Just focus on the fact that you are creating something and enjoying what you're creating. Not too stressed. And if you notice, I go back over it. If I didn't like it, I just go right back. It's acrylic. It's so forgiving. It dries, and once it's dry, you can just continue to go over it over and over and over again. I'm going to show you where I'm going to put the little eye. So I'm going to take my darker orange, which in this case is orange spice. I'm going to take my round brush, and I'm just going to put a dot right where I want my eye to go. And then I'm going to expand my circle from my dot. See, I just expanded my circle from my dot. I started at a dot and I just expanded it. That's it. You can play as much with all these colors. This is the darker brown. And you can play with all these colors until your clownfish looks like you would like it to look. I'm going to let my dot eye dry. I'm going to come in here, put some color. This is the darker spice color. See that? Look how nice that looks now. Covered it right up nicely. I have some white from where I originally had my fish. So I'm going to come in here and cover that white. Just so there's no white showing there. This is where I had kind of given him a little tail back here. So now after my white dried, I'm going to come in with, there we go, that's my spice color. And maybe outline it with some of the brown. Like a little fin in the back. And now you just kind of keep playing with him until you get him, or her, your clownfish, to look the way you want her to look. Also, I have the yellow. I forgot that, so I'm going to put some yellow in here. And I'm going to show you with the yellow. Reach around and find my yellow. This is cadmium yellow medium. We'll use that for now. And what I was going to do with that is just put some highlights on my clownfish here. So like where the sun would be coming down on our clownfish, right, it's going to be lighter. So just the tops, maybe right in here as well. Make them more 3D looking. Maybe a little bit on the top of the fin. Oops, that was a little too much there. Highlights and lowlights. That's what makes your fish look like a fish. Look like it's under there, under that water. Gonna drag some colors in here. I have 3, 4 different colors here. So I'm gonna drag some colors in here. For my fins, it's very subtle. I'm just dragging it in there. Very subtle. Got some white on my brush. I'm trying to take it back off. Very subtle. And then for my my eye hasn't really dried yet, but I want to show you in a second. Where I'm going to put some dark color in there in the eye. So I'm coming back in here with the yellow. Just want to lighten him up a little bit right in these areas. Maybe a little bit of yellow in his fin. Remember to kind of wait for it to dry a little bit more than I'm waiting. Work on my darkening my edges. It's a fish. You don't have to have straight lines. You don't have to worry about being exactly straight. And just keep playing with him until you get him to look the way you like it. Okay, so the eye, I'm going to take the back of my brush, dip it in the dark brown, come back to where I had made my circle, poke it, leave it alone. There's my eye. I've used the back of the brush. Boop. There's my eye. This little white stuff that you see here, that is the chalk outline that I had originally done. So look how simple that comes off. See that? Now don't touch your wet paint with this brush. You want to wait till it dries so the chalk don't fall into your painting. If you touch your wet